Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. We are actually running horribly behind time, so it's good that we have a shorter panel and we can maybe brainstorm a little more and actually have some actionable points which the industry can share and implement after our discussions. Mr. Mishra had talked about a lot of legal initiatives being taken, but I for one believe that legal initiatives really make a little difference unless there's action on the ground. And I think we saw, of course, also how legal institutions can be compromised. We saw how National Green Tribunal was almost bullied into allowing the massive destruction of the Yamuna biodiversity area, during this global, it was supposed to be a global convergence of people wedded to peace. But I don't think you can have we can have peace with environmental degradation. Antony, I think why don't we kick off the discussion with you? You have been in Delhi now for I think about 4 years. And you have this, suffered the air, as much as we all have. Now, what are you doing at your hotel to minimize the environmental overload that we are all talking about?
Okay, I suppose if we look at the new technologies that we are either investigating or instigating or have started already, is actually purchasing green power, hydropower from Kashmir. This is allowing us to save about 20 lakh a month, but I think it's more a case of it's been pushed by not only just legislation, but also our hotel owners. They're also looking for us to do more things as hoteliers, as well as the customer and as well as our community of trying to do the right thing. In relation to that, that's more of a cost-saving initiative. However, when we look at, I think it's easier with a newer property because you are given some of the latest technology, but then sometimes you have to instigate other forms of that to try to improve your hotel's performance in relation to emissions. To give you an example, we had a heat pump, which is everybody would have for generating water, but we looked at replacing this with a multifunctional unit, which allows us a byproduct of generating hot water is also cold water or chilled water. So then we reinvest that back into reducing the running of our chillers. So this has given us a 20% reduction in our chiller unit usage. Come winter time, of course, you're using something like that, but coming summertime, we change it around the other way so that it's actually generating cold water, and then the byproduct is actually hot water. We're allowing us to use that for other parts of the building, so thus reducing the emissions.
So clearly there are technologies available today to reduce the overload, and the problem, Kanika, is also we talked about owners and their sensibilities. Now most hotels, especially chains like Marriott, you are working with owners, and owners sometimes have very different sensibilities than hoteliers, to put it mildly. Now, how do you make sure that the owners and you are on the same page? Because, environmental, in any investment in renewable energy is seen as an additional cost.
Fortunately, I think our lives became easy in explaining to owners thanks to Delhi smog.
Okay.
It is, of course, sensibilities differ, but I do believe today owners are as educated as any of us and are willing to invest as long as we show them that ROI or the benefits they would reap also in the future. I think procurement of power is a great initiative which has come out, and a lot of education on that front. There is also the fact that today power not only being a very expensive commodity, the fact that they when they invest in solar, we invest in wind power, they are able to save somewhere down the line has helped us make life easier. Yes, it's a difficult discussion, but something which is definitely easier today than 2 years back.
Okay, now in your hotel, what specific initiatives have you taken?
We have had solar energy at the hotel for very long. Solar technology, however, has evolved. My hotel is now 8 years old.
Yes.
So what solar panels were then and the kind of benefits they gave to today is different. So reinvesting and upgrading that system becomes a challenge more than having it. Apart from that, I think all of us have heat pumps today. We have equipment like inner keepers. We have equipment like heat generators, which have ion exchange programs. So they're all value adding to our sustainability. But are we really doing enough? I can't really answer
that is the big question that always comes up. Are we doing enough? Antony, like you have been hotelier for, you've worked in different countries, and you've seen, and in the last panel, Puneet Singh talked about that we don't have an ecosystem. Though a lot of things happen in the hotels, what happen the moment something leaves the hotel, you have no control over. So what situations have you come across which sort of go against you doing a little bit more? And, also, what are the initiatives you've taken apart from these purely technological interventions to promote a sense of environmental awareness and concern?
We had been breaking down our cardboard boxes and forming them into packs, and then either for a while having them taken away for free, and they would be recycled. So we got into a situation where that actually was becoming a cost that we would actually have to pay to have some of this cardboard taken away. So we partnered with an organisation to make a cardboard coat hanger.
Cardboard what?
Coat hanger.
Okay.
So the cardboard coat hanger we introduced into the Melbourne Marriott as a vessel to return guests' laundry. So it was not a case of having to use either plastic ones or metal ones or wooden ones. We actually used, and we were selling the message to our guests of what it actually was. And then for a second thing was the same thing came out of our plastics, and we were lucky enough to find an organisation that created a plastic bag that went over the guest laundry, that if you laid it on the floor under some of this expensive lighting, it would break down over 20 days so that it disappeared. So things like that,
So
you're
very
able
doable, sort of you making a difference one step at a time.
The third one was that we went to pineapple husks to create disposable paper napkins for all of our public area bathrooms, and also in our staff dining room and cafeteria, etc.
That's interesting. Those are actionable points. Kanika, there is of course big discussion always on wet garbage, and that is something which bothers everyone. Anything you have done in your hotel which can become, which you'll like to share?
Honestly, have we done anything special? No, not really.
Yeah.
It just, I think education, I think Sanjay spoke about it earlier, and quite a few of us have said it. We work in a very manpower intensive industry. We have a lot of young individuals who work with us, and education becomes that message which each one of us can carry. What we do differently is, and I'm sure a lot of other people do it, normally we started off actually weighing the cafeteria waste and talking about how much food waste was getting thrown. Started with the education of hunger, etc. But then we said, let's take it to the next level. And we started talking about how much paper waste we generated that day and how much wet waste did we generate that day. And slowly we started getting some amazing best practices back from the team, saying, why don't we ask guests at front desk would they like the newspaper for the day? Being a hotel, I won't say we're really the luxury bit of it where a guest expects it. We got it as a conversation starter, and guests actually started opting out of newspapers. So automatically you're doing a little bit for the environment without really marketing it, saying that we're doing something. It became a norm within the hotel, and slowly we have started seeing our teams, of course our young generation which works for us are anyway very tech savvy and digital savvy. The newspaper for the day or the headline for the day started getting WhatsApped within groups. And we have really done without papers in the hotel now. We only get 12 copies every day. And keep it at the front desk for a guest who really wants it, or somebody who's got it on there that he likes it, or that gentleman or that lady likes it. So that's a small initiative. Something else which really has worked for us on the wet disposal bit is the fact that we do our own composting pit. And all of us buy tuna or all these things in cans which come for our kitchens. We started doing plants as giveaways for our guests in the restaurants. And
okay,
that's
so use the cans as little...
We do our own compost, put a little basil, put a little dill, and give it to a guest. It becomes a wow for the customer, as well as it's organic, and it's helping me reduce that waste which is otherwise going out of my hotel.
I think that's, again, so there are a lot of commendable practices, and I'm sure this whole talk that there should be like a national white paper on sustainable practices which have actually been implemented, because you know, like often I've seen that in cities like us, we talk about these things, but you know, say I was talking to some heritage hoteliers. Now they have you know, the structures which are 400 years old, and they say that, look, what can we do? You know, I think there is a bigger challenge. Unfortunately, there's no heritage hotelier among us, but there is a big challenge for them to introduce environmentally sustainable practices on a large scale. But I guess on a smaller scale, a lot of these things can be done by anyone across the board. You know, sort of, yeah. Now, you know, Sanjay raised an issue about measuring, you know, the results of your action, you know, and not seeing it purely in terms of how much money you've saved. Of course, right now everyone talks about, I save so much of energy costs, you know. Antony, in fact, you saved a lot of money, didn't you, using IEX?
I don't know if it's IEX, but we have, with our hydropower, we're looking at, just for the last 3 months, 58 lakh is what we've saved over the last 3 months in relation to open trading.
Okay, great.
And, you know, this is hydropower, you know, and I agree with some of the comments that were made earlier that, you know, you're not getting some of that green portion of the power, you're just getting a cash reduction or a cost reduction.
Right. So now, you know, if you have to make an impact assessment of what impact your action is having on the environment, do you have a system in place for it? Antony, do you have a system in place for something to where you measure the impact that your hotel is having on the environment around you?
Every Marriott globally actually reports back into their area directors of engineering and then to regional things, all on all of these consumptions and also on the amount of reductions that we've made to our hotel carbon footprint, and that is being gathered up to go back to there. So once again, from a motivational point of view, we all have what we call a balanced scorecard, and in that, reductions that we must make in reduction to reducing of you know, KWMs and stuff like that for our energy costs.
Okay, so there is a system in place, and it's now in place all over Marriott International. Okay, the Green Global. Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about the website? You know?
I'm not technically qualified, I guess, to talk about it, but we do report in our numbers, and it does tell us what is the kind of carbon footprint we created over the period. So it gives at least quite an analysis and a learning for.
So, I mean, like for your hotel, how many rooms do you have?
I have 98 rooms.
98 rooms. Okay, so compared to Antony, it's less, you know.
Much smaller.
Yeah, but have you been able to reduce the carbon footprint as? Or what does your system
My rating shows that we have reduced by only 2% in spite of whatever we've been talking about. Okay. So that's why I say have we done enough.
That is, I think we come back to Sanjay's point. I think it's a very important point he made then, you know, that, you know, we really need to see, okay, it is great to save a lot of money, but are we really reducing our carbon footprint? So carbon footprint, to reduce the carbon footprint, you need much more, I guess. You know? And Antony, what has been your, like, experience with the carbon footprint, your carbon footprint?
It's like everything in life, you have to keep on pushing, and things that don't get measured don't get done.
Yeah.
So it's a case of there. We're looking for just over 9.8, but it's been that we've had some other things change inside the hotel that's added to being able to reduce that.
What are those things?
One was that we redid our STP from the year before. The replacement of all, where 60% of the hotel has been changed away from halogen to LED lighting. And it enabled us to actually get an improvement in our feedback from our guests on the quality of light in the bathroom, especially from our female business travellers. And then it has also enabled a reduction in purchasing of globes, etc. But the big one that we are looking at the moment is to install solar film on all the glass windows of the hotel, because at Aerocity we can't be putting too much on the roof. The local authorities don't like that at all. Okay, and that's why all the hotels in Aerocity are only 7 floors. So a lot of that area, we do have panels up there, but it's not enough to actually generate what we need to be able to do. So the next one for us is the film on the glass.
Okay, fine. And I hope that encourages lots of guests to keep their windows, their curtains open and let the light come in. You know, sort of, well, you know, we are sort of winding down a discussion. All this, you know, what do you think? Again, let's come to measurable results. You know, like, do you think your initiatives are making an impact on the carbon footprint, and how should hotels measure that impact?
Well, in a way, it does. You know, just to quickly, if I put it in a sequence, you know, to reduce your carbon footprints. Now, sequence would be first you reduce your consumption. So you rightly mentioned switching to LEDs. So electricity being the key input, you know, for any industry. So first you reduce the consumption. Second, whatever I'm consuming, is it at the most optimal cost? He mentioned about buying green power from the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So let's say if I'm spending X rupees for whatever I'm consuming, can I save on that? So that's where we pitch in, because we offer a marketplace where now electricity traded is at around 2 rupees 20 paisa. That's the rate, 2 rupees 20 paisa. You add on to charges. So there's a potential to reduce 25 to 30% of your power purchase cost, whatever you're consuming. First, you reduce your consumption. Second, whatever you're consuming, we assist you, we provide a platform where you save 25 to 30% of your overall power purchase cost. We have not yet gone to the level of making it green. That is the next stage. So whatever I'm consuming from the market or from my sources, can I make it green? And is there any viable option, economical option? That's where the product called renewable energy certificates comes into picture. And all the savings, the numbers which I'm talking about, they're all measurable, and whether you reduce your electricity cost, it's there on the public domain. You know how much you have saved in a year. Whatever cost you incur for going green, that is also known to you. So at the end of the day, you can, because at a very right point he mentioned, you know, the difference in the mindset of owner and the hotelier, because he would be looking at the bottom line. That's the only concern, what I presume. So at the end of the day, you can very well say that, okay, all right, we have reduced our consumption, we have reduced our power purchase cost, and we have also made ourselves green. And what percentage you want to go green, everything can be measured. It's easy to do, and at the end of the day, you can claim yourself that, all right, my X hotel is 70% green, 60% green, or 100% green. So the cost is very minimal. So you can measure it, and if you can measure it, you can claim it.
Fantastic. I think you have sort of given the summary and a conclusion to this discussion. Thank you very much. You know, we could, of course, keep discussing it forever. Unfortunately, time doesn't permit us. Could we have the celebratory gifts for our speakers and move on to the next session?
For sustainability, for responsible hoteliering or living life, garbage, whatever the case may be. I think that's there. Putting pressure on governance to bring up the stringent ecosystem rules, regulations, execution of those. I think that's very highly recommended, because all the efforts will go to waste if the ecosystem is not in place and the governance is not. So let's handle all those three. I think we should be on the way to a better future.
I'd like to thank all my panelists, and I think some gifts are going to be given. Yes, Yamini's taken over. And thank you, Mr. Arora, for hosting us so graciously.